Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Sodi and this is my final project for the Meet the Ancients class. During my presentation, I will be discussing the different types of religious architecture that is found in the ancient world and why it is important that modern day architects, engineers, and designers should focus their attention towards these great and also historical monuments. So why architecture? What is the importance behind it? The importance behind the formatting and design of architecture is quite overlooked, especially in the modern era, and so for this reason I have chosen to further explore this area of ancient expertise. Besides this, construction and architecture has always fascinated me, and I have always wanted to delve into how the ancient design of stone cathedrals and pyramids evolved and influenced the building of the Burj Khalifa, or even the taller skyscraper being built now, the Jeddah Tower, and as well as the engineering properties that follow it. Especially now that we are in an evolving society that almost solely consists of concrete towers, it is essential that we are able to master such a skillful craft in order to prevent any type of damage or destruction to property or harm to any civilians. Lastly, architecture is so crucial to explore in the modern era in that it is one of the few topics that we can look at past flawed and successful designs in order to improve and develop even more substantial and safe structures from. It is important to learn why the pyramids withstood the test of times and why the Parthenon was not completely able to, and the structural differences that led to their current construction status. So what is the importance behind religious architecture? Studying religious architecture is key for determining how our ancient ancestors were able to build these colossal temples, such as the Greek Temple of Zeus Olympia, or how the Vatican Church was constructed. The ancients worshipped and respected the gods and would do anything to prove their beliefs, which is why they would go above and beyond to build these monumental towers and temples strictly dedicated to the gods. Since our ancestors would dedicate hundreds of thousands of man-hours along with decades to build these houses of worship, they would make sure their position and accuracy was on point and that no errors could be made. This is the type of precision that modern-day personnel could inspire and learn from in order to advance our modern-day culture. I wanted to use the Egyptians as an example that religious architecture was very highly valued and sought after. The Egyptians clearly had done something right in the construction of the pyramids if these monumental stone towers still hover over the barren Egyptian lands thousands of years later. The importance of studying their engineering and construction methods can aid modern-day designers push architectural limits and create even more amazing advances. The importance of studying not only the structures of the pyramids, but the Colosseum and the Acropolis can evoke new ideas for architectural engineers and provide new perspectives on future construction projects around the world. If the Egyptians had not valued the ancient gods and what they had done for the people, then why would the Egyptians have dedicated so much time, human energy, and money in order to build temples that replicated the sun rays of the sun god? Religious architecture was made in order for others to awe and amazement, at which is why I believe that it is the most valued and respected type of architecture, and why modern personnel should look back and revisit these marvelous wonders. In order to relate the topic of architecture to antiquity, I explored multiple primary and secondary sources to help support the connection. These secondary and primary sources discuss ancient and forgotten architecture of the Middle East, Europe, and Asia, and the diversity among these great infrastructures. The historic architecture and the ancient art of planning, the forgotten era, helps draw the connections between modern-day urban design and architecture and connects these buildings to their suggested roots and origins in their ancient times. Sarkar discusses how architecture at any time period starts with mankind and their basic need for survival. Architecture is seen as a necessity for survival in that it provides shelter which does not change depending on man's current era. She notes how the differences in architecture in each era, Babylonian, Egyptians, Mughals, and Greek, etc., all focus on aspects of what their culture focuses on. Babylonians' culture primarily focuses on the religious aspect of the Hanging Gardens, which can be seen in much of their architecture. The Egyptians centralized their religion on life after death, which is why their land focuses on tombs and sphinxes and leaving the dead with jewels and riches. The Mughals, which was greatly influenced by the Islamic Indians and Persians, mimicked high ceilings and white marbles and focused the most on symmetrical design. As we can see, the ancient world has played a very large role in the modern-day society in how architecture is influenced, as well as led to some very unique architecture in its own.